All right, guys. This is the moment we've been all waiting for. We have the Hearthstone or the ONOG Hearthstone Summer Circuit Feature Tournament number 3 Grand Finals. The Grand Finals are going to be between Sukipan, a qualified player, and Trump, an invited player. Now, usually these matches are pretty important since they give the winner an opportunity to go to PAX. But because Suki Pan actually can't attend PAX, um, it's actually Trump just is going to be automatically advanced to PAX. So this match is actually essentially for $1,500, which is still pretty amazing.
Yeah, for a single game of Hearthstone, and that's they've already earned $1,500 each. This is for an extra $1,500 on their prize, so they're doubling their prize money with this single series if they win.
Yeah, it's actually quite important for Suki Pan as well, since he's actually not that well known in the Chinese scene compared to some other players. Like we haven't really seen him play in the big Chinese tournaments, and he actually wasn't in like Team Celestial is like the big team in China, but he actually wasn't in Team Celestial proper. He was kind of like on either the B team or the community team previously. I'm not sure what his situation is now, but if he wins like this huge Western tournament, I think he's very likely to get promoted.
Yeah, and I have to say that Suki played like absolutely fantastic games so far in this tournament. Like he's been taking the appropriate risks to win, where sometimes he's been down or he's losing advantage, and he takes a big gamble to take it back. And a lot of players would play safe and try to like edge it out, but Suki was willing to gamble when he needed to, and it's got him this far. So a true Hearthstone player, if there ever was one.
Oh yeah. I really can't point out any big missteps from Suki Pan. There were some decisions in his zoo games where like maybe he could implosion his own Nerubian egg or a Nerubian
Yeah.
spider, but I don't know. You can't really make that decision.
Yeah, like more technical choices. There was definitely no obvious misplays from like any of his games, and they've played a lot of series at this point, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So we see that their lineup is exactly the same. The warlocks are different, and the hunters are slightly different, but the warrior and druids are very, very similar. So it should be interesting. I guess if you guys are playing a best of seven and you don't know what to play, I could recommend this type of lineup to you, as it seems to perform pretty well for these star players.
Yeah, this is actually the most common lineup. If in like the most common four classes that are brought to conquest style tournaments. The top three decks at the moment, everyone agrees that it's kind of Hunter, Warlock, and Warrior. But then that fourth deck is kind of iffy, and just I don't know why it is, but just in the standard open tournaments, we have a lot of Druid.
I think Warlock, like, it is agreed upon as one of the best decks, but it's been a little inconsistent, and we can see like they bring different types of Warlock. I think the main reason that players like Warlock is it's giving you more choices. So, like an experienced player, when you use that life tap effectively, it's something that you can play better than someone who didn't have as much experience as you. Whereas, even if its success rate might be a little lower on average than the other top tier decks, it's still something that you can pilot well to victory.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Who do you think is an advantage in this? Like, I know like they have similar lineups, but Trump is bringing a hybrid hunter while Suki Pan is bringing face hunter, and Trump is bringing handlock while Suki Pan is bringing zoo.
I think that Trump would be in a little advantage, just saying that I like the Hand Warlock better, especially given their lineups. Hand Warlock's really good against Druid and Warrior, whereas the Zoo is really only going to be that great against Hunter, and it seems like Hunter's managed to take games anyways. So I think I like the Hand Warlock as a bit better of a technical choice, but it's going to be really close. Like anytime they're playing such similar classes, you can tell it's going to come down to some very specific moments.
Would you give the zoo also an advantage over Druid?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Zoo typically does have an advantage over Druid. I think it's a bit more like luck based, though, right? The Hand Warlock has. Yeah, I'm more of a control player myself, so I'm probably a bit biased in this. Do you have an opinion, Monk, who you think the favorite would be?
I think just in Zoo versus Druid, just going back to like the olden days of Hearthstone, Zoo was like the counter to Druid. I don't think it's I think it's a lot more even these days, but still probably a very good counter. If I had to like just like look up the stats right now, it's uh around 61% in favor of the zoo.
Hmm. It's That's pretty good. That's still fairly even, but 61% in Hearthstone's like pretty good betting odds. So,
Yeah,
well,
there's actually not that many decks that are like 70% or above.
yeah.
Like no blowout matches. Hearthstone, like it's a pretty even game.
Except apparently the hybrid hunter, right, had some pretty ridiculous win rates.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're gonna have Zoo, or sorry, we're gonna have Handlock for Trump and Druid for Suki Pan.
yep. So this is a close match. I mean, it's definitely something that can go either way. Big Game Hunter, of course, a really important card if Suki could have found that, or Silence. He knows that Trump is playing hand roulette, and having that type of information when you're mulliganing as the Druid makes a huge difference because a lot of Druid decisions come down to those first couple of cards that you're choosing from.
Yeah. All right, so one of these hands is gonna be pretty good, and I'll give you a guess as to which one that is.
Yeah. And Suki with the combo already too. Like you might even consider just not playing the innervate at all. Shredder, coin, Sylvanas, then innervate. No, that's slightly off. In any case, the early combo is super potent in this match because it's very rare that the Warlock will play around that. They'll just take the gamble since you're not going to play around the perfect hand every time.
Yeah. So we noticed that Trump, he has an ooze in his hand, and he actually is running two oozes in this deck. And that's probably because of he wants to be really anti-patron. But I think this is also one of the strengths of Druid in that they're not hurt by weapon removal. They're not too hurt by BGH. And just in general, like they're not really hurt by all the tech cards that you generally see. Like Kazan Mystic is another good example. There's not really too many Black Knights out, which is the only tech card that really hurts Druid.
All right, so Suki's setting up for lethal next turn. Seems likely that a Sludge Belcher will come down, which should prevent the lethal. Even if he trades into the Shredder, if it's not, if he did something like silence the Shredder and trade, he's still dead. Combo would be 21 damage, so.
Yeah. Is that
And
like a slight misplacement of the Shredder? Since you probably, if it dies and spawns like another Flame Tongue Totem, then maybe like the Force of Nature Savage Roar will get more value off if it's placed on the other side of the... Yeah, like, there we go.
Yeah, you're right. That normally the Druid doesn't have any creatures that like auto spawn, but the Force of Nature is that like one creature that auto spawns. I wonder, does that make a difference? I don't normally calculate for the Direwolf bonus damage.
I think it actually does, since if you Force of Nature here, then
Yeah.
like he would have gotten 5 damage off from the Direwolf Alpha.
So he would have killed it with the tree plus face. He would have had 2 trees left for 9.
It's
Plus,
still not enough, but it's nice to think about. He would have had 9 plus 6.
9 plus 8, because the Harrison would get the buff as well, right? Oh, and then
Oh, yeah,
also the
9 plus 8.
Direwolf can attack.
9 plus 8 plus 2. So
9
that's
plus 8 plus 4, which would have been
for plus
21
4.
damage, which would have been the Shredder placement. I think actually prevents lethal here, which is a really enormous play that you observed there, Monk. So I'm not going to conclude on that entirely, but yeah, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, so again, like we keep talking about, casters always talk about Shredder placement, but it's actually like if it can lose you, or if it can like not win you like one game out of even 500, you should like care to be more careful to place those Shredders correctly.
Well, yeah, this is like that moment where in a match like this, it made a huge difference of potentially changing the fate of the whole game. That's really cool to see. Still combos available, so any like slower play from Trump. Also, the Ancient Allure was placed on the wrong side. Not as concerned about the Direwolf, I guess, as maybe he should be from Sukipan. Is it lethal somehow? Guess not. I think we're almost like speechless at the fact that that made such a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even sure what to say now.
But I mean, to be fair, I don't think it made that much of a difference, since Sukipan is in such a huge lead right now that it looks very unlikely for Trump to take this game.
It was interesting he actually played the Ancient Allure on the wrong side as well, though. Like having seen the Direwolf, he's still.
I'm actually not sure he realized that he missed lethal by placing the shredder wrong.
Yeah, I don't think he actually noticed that. The fact that he didn't consider the Force of Nature getting buffed when he played the Ancient Allure was like he wasn't actually thinking about it at all. But didn't matter in the end. The early combo will just completely blow away the Warlock. So some really interesting observations there. In the end, Suki will take the first game in quite decisive fashion.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing there. Yeah, I really would have wanted to see that the Suki Pan hit that lethal, because like it would teach players. I think this way it also teaches players to really mind your shredder placement.
Yeah.
Mostly it's about shredders being in the middle of two creatures, but when you have classes that can spawn charge creatures, it's actually really important. Like I believe in the last game as well, Trump also misplaced his shredder, in the sense that played a shredder and then a high main on the other side, and it could have been impactful if Trump ever had Unleash the Hounds, for example.
Yep. Yeah, it's something I think about as a shaman a lot because, of course, your totems are like the auto spawning creatures, and so automatically spawning creatures will always spawn to the furthest right when you're looking at your own board. They spawn on the right side. But rarely do you think about it in other classes because it's such specific moments when you have auto spawning creatures. Still made a huge difference there, though, or could have potentially.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty fair matchup for both players. And Trump, actually, he queues up with the handlock once again, and he's going to get his favorable matchup. Generally, this handlock is going to be favored against Patron, but it's going to be especially favored when you have two oozes in your deck.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Trump has already played his hand Warlock against several Patron Warriors in this tournament, right? And I think each time he's beaten them, so.
Yeah, he's crushed them all. He hasn't lost a match yet in this matchup.
Something that he's pretty comfortable with at this point. Emperor, really good draw for Suki. It's a long way away, but I think in hand Warlock, like I would keep Emperor in the opening hand. It's just such a decisive play to be able to do your moves faster before the Warlocks actually claim the board.
Yeah, not only that, but it allows you for some pretty early lethals before before the handlock player can get these huge taunts up.
Yep. Those double oozes showing up early. Suki, it's unlikely he'll play around them too much. There's not a lot you can do about it in a match like this. If you draw the Death Bite, you just test them out and see if it works.
All right, so no threats for Trump at this point. How important do you think is it for Trump to actually get a threat on turn 4 in this matchup?
Oh, it's a huge difference, probably, right? With he can win anyways, but just having that initial creature to apply pressure makes the Patron Warrior have to do specific things, and when they can wait, then it gets a lot scarier. Well, you could maybe ooze that. You had two, but plays it safe. That's a really good hand from Suki if you could pick up Charge. He has the Battle Rage, he has the Patron combo, so even without Charge, you could test it and then just Battle Rage off of it later, once you've used the Emperor on this hand. If he got Charge, especially if the Death Bite somehow worked, like there's potential there for Suki just to kill him, but of course Trump does have all the answers in his hand because he's drawn no threats. Tense moment for Suki. Not sure what he's really thinking about. He could just equip the Death Bite, but that seems pretty foolish.
Yeah, especially since I expect Suki to be scouting a lot, and you know your opponent has double ooze in his handlock.
I think this is probably just a plan ahead turn where, oh, it's interesting.
I think this makes sense since you expect this Ancient Watcher to get taunted up at some point in the game.
Wow.
Huh. I did not think of that play. I'll be honest with you, Hot Form.
No, I didn't see that one coming either. So he wants to kill it with the Whirlwind later, I guess, and just make it really unappealing for Trump to use it for anything.
I've honestly never seen this type of play before in my life.
No, me
But like,
neither.
even though I've never seen it, you can definitely see the logic behind it.
Yep.
And it definitely shows you that Suki Pan is definitely thinking on a different level from probably a majority of players who play Hearthstone.
Yeah, that was super technical. Well, Trump still managed to draw no threats. If he taps, he overdraws, he has to play something. You could just Dark Bomb the Taskmaster, I guess. You want to use the coin with Dr. Boom next turn, probably, but when the Emperor comes down, it's going to be really uncomfortable.
You can you can even consider, I don't know, like owling the Watcher, so you basically force your opponent to do some kind of effect to not play Emperor on turn 6.
Yeah. I actually think Owling the Watcher is pretty good here. The Silence doesn't do really anything in this match. You put a bit of face damage on, and yeah, Emperor is so horrible to deal with at this point. He has no answer at all in his hand other than a Silence, and he can't kill it even if he silences the Watcher because the damage goes away.
I have to say, I think Trump is drawing pretty poorly. Like, even if Suki Pan he throws up a bunch of patrons, Trump actually doesn't have an answer to that either.
Yeah. He's got Molten Giants and Oozes. Wow. Turn 6 has the Battle Rage. Didn't play the Emperor. He must be looking for Charge or Frothing, and he wants to use the Emperor right when he has the actual damage combo.
Yeah, we know in fact that if Trump, or rather, if Suki Pan played the Emperor right there and then, it would have been pretty huge.
It's cool to see Trump play Emperor here instead of Dr. Boom because he had that coin Dr. Boom. I think it's because it adds a threat to the board right away, so it could maybe force your opponent to like burn and execute or something that they didn't want to.
Yeah,
Because you can ignore Boom.
yeah, and then if he burns an execute, then your boom will be able to get a lot of damage in.
Yeah. This is like a persistent creature. Any just flat damage the warrior can take a hit from, but maybe test the water with the Death's Bite here. Trade the Armor Smith, Death's Bite into the Emperor.
It seems to be the most clean cut play. And now Trump can.
What? The Battle Rage. All right. Whirlwind's super valuable.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's even like, I would say it's more valuable than the average card even, right? Because what that Whirlwind essentially did was it drew one more card for you. You basically kind of traded a Whirlwind for that card, and you dug a little deeper into your deck.
All right. Oh boy. I think you gotta Emperor here, right? And then you can use those bombs next turn, especially with the Patron Frothing combo, to get like a really good lethal setup just from the current board, let alone if you actually drew something like another Whirlwind.
I think Trump will actually just throw the creatures into the Emperor, though. He's
Yeah.
not going to give his opponent the opportunity to get value off the bombs.
Yeah, I agree. That's a smarter play.
Yeah, this is a... Oh. Yeah, that was the best way to trade as well. Like, I think ideally he wants... I don't know if he actually wants the ooze to die or not, but he definitely wanted both bombs to die.
There's a lot of taunt options there for Trump. He could have done Sylvanas with taunt or taunted the Ragnaros, but he says, I don't need these taunts. You're not actually going to kill me. You don't have that many cards.
This actually doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
There's like literally no Whirlwind options here.
It's looking pretty grim for Suki. He has to pick up something amazing, or Trump would have to play like a Haunted Creeper, because There's no way to get more patrons on the board.
On a creeper and Hemlock. That'll be the day.
Is there any one draw he could pick up? I think he needs a slam and then like slam into an inner rage or something. It has to be a card draw mechanic because there's no one card that does it. He could just wait one more turn as well. Okay, that's pretty much best case, but he still needs one more.
So what's that final card that he needs? An Unstable Ghoul, probably?
Doesn't fit. It's
That's
9
true.
mana right now. Has to be Inner Rage, I guess. You Inner Rage and then Whirlwind for the 4 patron.
Yeah, there's not really anything else. I mean, both executes have been used, and the second Whirlwind has been used. So it's literally only Inner Rage that does anything in this hand.
Battle Rage, maybe, and you do the patrons with just Battle Rage. But he threw away that other charge, right? He has no more charge after this point, so it's all in once he goes for it. And yeah, there's no way through that.
It's a little funny that Trump actually traded his coin for 2 health there. The way he played out that turn, because he could have coined and then tapped and then heal botted, and he would be at full HP.
Oh yeah, that's really cool because obviously coin doesn't do much now.
Especially when you have a full Emperor hand.
Well, looks pretty much over. There's 10 damage on the board. Suki has to go for it here, and it's not enough. So you know you're dead if you go for it.
Yeah, especially if when you're fighting against a taunted up Sylvanas. So that because Trump has the owl in hand as well, so
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah, this is lethal.
Yeah.
You silence the Armor Smith. Do you even have to silence the Armor Smith?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Just do the Hellfire last. Actually, it overkills anyways.
Yep.
That's really cool to see that Trump had, like, it felt almost the worst opening draw. He drew no Mountain Giants, no Twilight Drakes for the entire duration of the game. And he actually still won against the Patron Warrior in pretty, like, simple fashion, honestly. He had to wait until turn 6. He never played the coin because there was just nothing to use it on. And he still takes the victory.
Well, it did feel, though, that Suki Pan's draw wasn't, like, absolutely the best, and he made some kind of strange plays. Like, for example, you mentioned giving up that Whirlwind, the first Whirlwind. I think if he had 2 Whirlwinds in his hand at that very last moment, he could have done, like, quite a bit of damage. Not only that, but the turn right after, Trump played the Emperor Thorzen, and Suki Pan definitely could have used the Whirlwind there as well.
Also, taskmastering the Ancient Watcher was like a really technical play, and I don't have a strong opinion on that, but he did have the Emperor in his hand already, and it would turn the Taskmaster into a 1-mana activator, which is pretty good, so yeah. It was an interesting game anyways.
Yeah, I think at that point, Suki Pan just might be thinking in the terms of, I don't really want to pass every single turn, so I might as well play something.
Yeah.
But you know what? Everyone plays Patron slightly differently. There doesn't seem to be like a 100% correct way to play it, or at least no one's like definitively discovered it yet.
Yeah, and also in a match like that where Trump wasn't playing anything, Suki was probably making guesses as to what was currently in Trump's hand to actually like play it out properly. So like I think he expected an ooze, and then he knew the weapon would get ooze, so he wanted the Watcher to be at 1 so that it died to that Whirlwind. And there's a lot of things to think about when your opponent has 10 cards in their hand and they didn't play anything on the last turn.
Yeah, it's very true.
Well, the players now need to make a very serious consideration for what they're going to play in the next match.
I mean, this honestly just comes down to a best-of-5 conquest at this point. Nothing more, nothing less. And I think I would favor Suki Pan here because his 4th deck was taken out while one of Trump's main 3 decks was taken out. And you have to think that your 4th deck is always going to be your weakest deck, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like their lineups are so similar here. It's really going to come down to the individual matches. Like, you know, probably pick your Patron Warrior next game or the Hunter. They all seem like such consistent choices here that it's really tough to say who's going to come out on top in any way. It seems like the players are taking a very serious consideration while we wait for them to get ready for the match.
Yeah. We're getting word that Suki Pan seems to be adjusting something, but
Okay.
no, there he is.
And it will be the Patron Warrior versus Patron Warrior, the ever favorite match, which we actually saw Suki. I want to say in the last series that Suki played against Irony, where Irony had the ultimate opening combo and Suki didn't, but he managed to clear it out and come back to win. That was a really cool Patron versus Patron mirror series.
Yeah, one of like definitely like in the top 10% of the patron mirrors that I've seen. This is also going to be a pretty interesting one though. Both players will have the opportunity to keep Grim Patron, but Trump will have the opportunity to also have Harrison Jones in his opening hand.
Yep. I do think you would probably keep Harrison here, but then there's also the opinion that, maybe it's better to have the weapon than it is to have Harrison, so you try a little harder for that.
Yeah, but then again, like if you throw Harrison into your patron deck, it seems to be like just teched in for the mirror, right? So
Yeah.
why, if you tech it in, why wouldn't you keep it in your opening hand?
Yeah, I agree. Well, neither of them picking up anything too amazing with the patron. Okay, there's a death bite, but of course the Harrison will just shut that down.
Yeah. I
Looking
feel
for inner rage.
going back to the Harrison Jones point, I feel like the entire point of tech cards is that you either A, draw them, or you play a deck like Freeze Mage, for example, that has enough card draw that you'll eventually draw it in that matchup. So I
Yep.
think with any card, with almost any tech choices, you want to keep them in your opening hand against what you're trying to tech against.
Well, here's the earliest decision in the match. Do you play an Armor Smith? Does not. Get to see the other side of things. Will Suki play an Armor Smith? And he does. Difference of opinion forms already. One player choosing to keep it.
Well, I think it's more the fact that it's less of like a difference of opinion and more the fact that Trump didn't have a weapon, while Suki Pan has the opportunity to coin out a Death Spite on turn 4.
Yeah, that's
turn
true.
3.
So the Acolyte of Pain drop would otherwise get to auto trade into the Armor Smith because he didn't have a way to kill it. So, I mean, you probably just pass here. You could play the Ghoul, but that feels pretty weird. I think you just want to attempt to set up the Patron coin combo on 5. And then with the Death Bite, that would get you a 4 set of Patrons. Looks like a really good opening. Double Whirlwind for Trump. Okay, doesn't even need the weapon anymore.
Yeah, so now we're in an interesting position. Like Suki Pan, he'll probably Death Spite here, and then
Yeah.
he'll have the opportunity to set up potentially a lot of patrons, almost a full board of patrons actually. But he'll get Harrisoned, and then he still has the opportunity to make a board of patrons, but it will be against a Harrison Jones that has that will be able to clear off one of those patrons.
Oh, and a weapon's really great here. It lets Trump set up his own patrons, and it's going to let him clear off many of the patrons that Suki played.
Yeah, so if Suki goes for the patron turn here, Trump will be able to clear off 3 of the patrons via Death Spite, Harrison Jones, and Execute, and that last patron will be at 1 HP. So it's not really threatening at all.
Yeah. That's got to feel a little bad for Suki, because you would expect a weapon at this point as well. The shield blocks happen, the Harrisons happen, so Trump's getting like quite a bit of card draw through his deck. So what's his other play to not play a patron here? I mean, it just feels so gross to not play a patron when you have the perfect turn 5 combo in your hand, but
Yeah, the other play seems to be just execute and then pass.
yeah. Definitely don't play Unstable Ghoul, right? Oh man, maybe he does. So to me, if you are saying you're not going to play patrons, it's because you expect your opponent to have the weapon, right? So why would you play the Ghoul? It's just going to die to the weapon. I guess it works against the Emperor turn, since it is turn 6. You want to be a little careful.
There's actually an opportunity for Trump to maybe equip the Deathbite, not kill off this Ghoul, and save it for the next turn for his own patrons. But then you run into a lot of scenarios where it's going to be good against what Suki Pan might have. But we know that, like, if there's a Harrison Jones coming from Suki Pan, or if he has, like, his own set of, like, huge patrons, it would turn out to be pretty bad.
Yeah, this is going to get punished really hard if he doesn't kill it. Okay. Because then he would get a 6 set of patrons, and Trump cannot remove a 6 set of patrons. Well, a lot of armor, a lot of passing. Nobody's taken any real damage yet. There's just been kind of sparring moves. This is going to be the first big play of the game. It's not a lot better than last turn. The one way this is a lot better than last turn, actually, is because the charge of Trump's weapon is on the death rattle. Now if he attacks, there's a lot more potential for Trump not to be able to use his weapon, or it's going to spawn patrons.
Well, not only that, but the Harrison Jones isn't on the field, so I don't think Trump can actually get a full clear.
Yep.
So he's going to go with the counter play.
Does this work? It looks like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens when he has that many whirlwinds, but it seems like Suki will just be ahead on patrons in the end. I'm sure Trump has done this many times, so we'll see. Okay. Okay, yeah, I guess that works. So then it's twice as many for Trump.
Yep, it's actually pretty cool. So this is one of the ways you can counter patrons without actually killing them. There's generally like 3 ways to deal with a board of 4 patrons. One is you try to kill all of them, but that's very rare, and we actually only saw that in the last match. The other way is to fill up your own patrons, which Trump is doing, and the third way is to kill your opponents off with a counter Frothing Berserker Warsong combo, which is very rare these days since players are now playing against that, or playing around that, now that they're more experienced with Patron Warrior.
So it looks like Suki's in a really tough spot here. He can tie up the board, but he can't use the Battle Rage. He uses everything except Battle Rage, and then he could charge the Gnomish into the 2 health one. It would only tie the board, though, so that doesn't really help the situation. Playing Whirlwind actually makes it worse for him, but he does get to draw cards, and I guess since there's no other play here, you just have to draw cards and hope you get something later. He does still keep the Frothing plus Warsong, but he's used both Whirlwinds, so there's not a lot of activators left that would actually like allow that play to be good.
Yeah, he's used both Whirlwinds, and he's used the one Unstable Ghoul already. But I do think if Suki Pan survives the next few turns, the combination of the Frothing Berserker and Warsong Commander plus a Whirlwind effect might be able to turn out the game, since Trump does have some life missing based on the chip damage in the early game.
There's so much math here. I mean, you're looking at how you trade the patrons off to remove all of his patrons, I think, because you don't want to leave him with any. And then it's like, are you burning the Whirlwinds, or you just let your patrons sit and you play Emperor? He doesn't have the charge, or I think he would just play Emperor, but... yeah, Suki just doesn't have a lot of activators left. He's going to have quite a few cards in his deck still that are just slower cards, things like the Shield Block, for example. But he has only 1 Deathbite and 1 Unstable Ghoul, and like an Inner Rage, so...
I really don't have too many problems with playing the Emperor, since the 5/5 body is actually very threatening. But the problem with the Emperor is that I guess it leaves 1 more minion on the board, in which Frothing Berserker can be... Like, the Frothing Berserker counterplay combo can be pretty significant.
Yep. Well, you can Harrison and gives him a whole board of patrons. Some interesting things can happen when there's a full board of patrons that you can try to attack some of the patrons and then they can't spawn more when there's 7, so you can wound them all at once. But there's nothing in Suki's hand that would really help out that situation. It would have to be a draw off the Harrison.
We did see an interesting play with involving Harrison Jones and the Patron Warrior a few games ago, in which one player used the Harrison Jones to activate a whirlwind effect off of his opponent's Death Spite. I don't think we're gonna see that this game though, since it's just way too much mana.
Suki reclining in his chair while he realizes that this play might be the only move, but it feels pretty terrible. He does have some health left, right? He's got quite a bit of health remaining, probably 2 more turns. Gets hit for roughly 18 damage here. I don't even know if Trump will play anything.
Yeah, again, you do have to be worried about the only way you could possibly lose in this situation, which is the counter Frothing Berserker combo.
That's so unlikely, though, because there's no Emperor played from Suki.
Yeah, not only that, but you would need around 2 whirlwind effects, and there's only 1 left that isn't a Death Spite.
Yep.
In total, there's only 1 Death Spite and 1 Unstable Ghoul, and you actually, like, you'd have to do something like Death Spite, override it with a War Axe, also play an Unstable Ghoul, also fit in a War Song, and also fit in a Frothing Berserker.
Well, let's see what he draws. It looks like it's pretty much over. I don't want to call it early because he's not actually dead. Even on the next turn, he's not actually dead, but it's just the slow bleed out where he's not actually adding anything. Oh, there's the other Frothing. So the best draw for him is Unstable Ghoul, and he could play double Frothing with Unstable Ghoul. The Whirlwind would hit presumably like 10-ish creatures, giving about 24 damage plus the weapon. I don't know. If he picked up Unstable Ghoul, it's close. It's probably not enough, but it would be very close.
Unstable, I think Unstable Ghoul.
It's
Okay.
so tough to make that claim like before we actually see the math, right?
So it would be. All right, I'm gonna try to do this. It's gonna be 4 minions on Suki Pan side of the board, 7 on Trump side of the board. The Unstable Ghoul would add 22 damage. Plus the War Axe is 25 damage. Plus the Frothing Berserker natural damage is 29 damage. So it does seem to be enough, unless Trump plays an Armorsmith.
Yeah. I think you could actually play like Armorsmith and a Whirlwind and just, I don't know. No, that's terrible. Like Armorsmith, Whirlwind, and then Unstable Ghoul yourself, but no, that would be the only way like the Frothings could actually get more damage, so close to killing him, but doesn't quite have enough this turn, giving a very small chance.
Yep. So Trump does go with the Armorsmith, which means that Suki Pan is locked out of the game.
And he didn't draw it anyways. The board is full if you slammed into Unstable Ghoul. There's still no real way to clear, and you have 6 health, so that'll wrap it up and give Trump a 2-1 lead in this best-of-7 series. There's still plenty of games left to go in this series, though, and I mean, when you lose the Patron Warrior Mirror, it's like, all right, I lost that one, but you're not going to take that too hard.
Yeah, it's just that a lot of the times in the Patron Warrior Mirror, it's just so one-sided that you kind of, your soul gets broken down if you lose this game.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is that a lot of times in this mirror, when you do the win condition that puts a lot of patrons on the board, like the patrons actually don't do that much damage every turn, so you die. You have a death animation of essentially 3 turns.
Yep, that sounds about right. A death animation is a really good way to describe it. So Trump takes the game. He's got Hunter and Druid left. The Druid's probably the least consistent deck of those two, because of course Druid can always have some like pretty poor draws, and Druid does tend to match up really well against Patron Warrior though. Like I would say both of Trump's decks have a very good match against Patron Warrior. So I think Suki might pick one of the other ones first and try to steal some wins from like a technical pick
Yeah.
before Trump is down to only one deck.
I think Suki would probably want to get his Hunter faced off into Trump's Hunter because it's a faster Hunter. And he'll probably want the Zoo to queue up into the Druid, for instance.
Yeah.
I do think that out of the remaining decks of Suki Pan, maybe even the Patron Warrior is the weakest against what Trump has.
Ooh, and he did. He picked Hunter and he managed to get it queued into Trump's Hunter, which I think is exactly, you're right, that he wanted that.
Although I will say that it's actually not that bad in this matchup since we know that Trump is playing double Glaive Zuka, which I feel like is almost the best card in this matchup. Or at least one of the best cards.
They mulliganed really fast. I would have been interested to see if Trump kept the Ironbeak Owl. Because,
did.
of course,
He did.
He did? Yeah. His deck is not very aggressive, so having that silence is often just like a safe counterplay to what the more aggressive hunter is bringing.
Yeah.
So you can get Glaive Zuka and clear, or you could use the silence here. You know it's probably Explosive Trap, so I kind of like the Glaive Zuka, and then you'll just hit the hunter with the Glaive Zuka before you play anything next turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty good point. But then, like, if he rolls a Misha, for example, your plans are pretty screwed. You can also, with this play, you almost know for certain that your opponent will
There it is.
trade. Well, he'll go face and not trade here, I feel.
This is pretty awkward now. You might kill command the Misha and trade. Whenever you feel like, as the hunter, that you're like attacking their creatures, is generally a pretty bad sign. But as the slower hunter, you know that you have to do that at certain points in the battle.
Yep.
Hmm.
At least you don't take any face damage, even though you are quite behind in initiative.
Yeah. Would not surprise me to see just Arcane Golem next turn hit the face. You can tell that Trump doesn't have a lot of damage in his hand if he's using Kill Command on that. Maybe no, you can't justify. It still could be a quick shot still, which would take care of that Arcane Golem and give away your mana advantage.
Normally, you do want to play on curve, but yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so he wants to fit in more hero powers in. I can definitely respect that.
Yep.
It does seem like Arcane Golem, you would give your opponent 5 mana, so he'd have the coin for 6 mana. He would be able to play High Main, which I guess might be problematic. Like High Main into Unleash the Hounds would almost seal the game.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think he was so concerned about the high main. It seems like he probably just doesn't have a lot of cards, so he's like, I'll get as many hero powers in as I can. And yeah, that works really well.
Yeah. A funny thing is that the Freezing Trap actually works quite well against the Leopard Gnome as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not ideal, but it does something. We do know that Suki Pan does have double Unleash the Hounds, though. So that's going to be an issue.
Lotheb really nice here. Suki's entire hand is just spells. Oh, man, but he missed both juggles on the Leopard Gnome. So there's 10 damage in play. I mean, you probably want to trade on the juggler here, but then, no, actually, I guess you don't. You're just going to unleash twice and go face, right?
Yeah, especially since you have Juggler Unleash on the next turn. Yeah, I would actually prefer a face attack here and not playing the Knife Juggler.
Also the Explosive Trap, right? Like, you did have Explosive Trap as well. You could have gone Unleash, trade into the Lotheb and Explosive Trap, and none of the board would be able to hit you. And since you're ahead so much on life total, that seemed like a pretty safe follow-up turn.
There's also the opportunity to maybe on turn 8 go for the knife juggler double unleash.
Wow.
I'm not a fan of that. I feel like this is like such a good combo in this deck.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that either. Trump might get baited by that though and play the freezing trap because, you know, it seems really unlikely he would have unleash if he was willing to play the juggler there. And then you play the freezing, but he unleashes. He gets the hound frozen instead. All right, nice.
I think you just play out your hand here. Not too many decisions.
Yeah, it's a pretty fair fight still. Even with that early health deficit for Trump, there's not enough in Suki's hand to win the game yet, so...
Yeah, this seems to be like what generally happens in this matchup. And it's all about whether, like, the hybrid hunter or the mid-range hunter generally comes back in this matchup. But it's all about, like, whether the phase hunter has put enough damage on the board.
All right, I think I like just the explosive trap here. You know, you are ahead on health. You can't quite squeeze the hero power in, though. You go Abusive Sergeant, trade into Lothab and Explosive Trap. Like, taking the 6 damage from Lothab is pretty unacceptable.
Yeah, I also don't feel like you have any more opportunities to play the Explosive Trap later in the game.
You seem to... for the steady shot, though.
Yeah, you seem to be on a 2-turn clock. I'm totally okay with the steady shot since you have so many charge minions in your hand that you'll get to use the Abusive Sergeant on your next turn anyway.
It means you take 6 from Lothab, though, and then 8 with the weapon plus steady shot. Trump would need only 4 damage from hand to win here. Which, 4 damage is a lot harder than 3, I guess, so that's a pretty safe gamble. I think on 3 damage he would have killed Lothab because it's like every increment.
Sukipan actually needs to top deck something pretty good. Wait, what do you think about this Glaive Zuka?
This is he has to trade the abusive, right?
Yeah, you feel like you want to trade the abusive first? Because now like this is useless.
He was hoping for Snake. Maybe that was a worthy gamble to him.
Yeah, I agree.
Did he have lethal if it was Snake? Yeah, he did. He had lethal if it was Snake, so pretty worthwhile. In this case, I think, oh yeah, he's definitely dead now. I think he was dead anyways, right, with the extra hound, but 4+.
Yeah. Anyway, actually, I think that that play was actually pretty good from Trump. He realized that most probably Sukipan either had the damage in his hand or he would top deck the damage on the next turn. And he went for, like, I don't want to call it a 50-50, since it's more likely for Sukipan to play Explosive from his hand than Snake from his hand. So it's probably more like a 30-70 in that scenario. But he had to go for the play that, like, might give him a chance to win the game.
Okay, that was like technically good play if Suki was playing Snake, but I remember in the previous, Trump must not have had time to watch Suki's previous series because we saw Suki only played Explosive when he had a Scientist and Explosive and it drew nothing. So he could have known if he had watched that there was only Explosive Trap in Suki's deck.
Yeah, that's another good point as well. Yeah, I mean, Trump, I know he requested that he would be playing the second match of the day, since it's like somewhat early for him. He would have to wake up at 9 a.m. in the morning. And for gamers, that's just like not acceptable.
Yeah, could be that not watching that series would cost him $1,500, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Suki's Hunter deck was the mystery deck. That was his 4th deck that he brought, so there was no chance to observe it in the previous series. He would have had to only watch that prior series with Suki versus Irony early in the day. That's the only chance he could have observed that mechanic in play. So
yeah, that's a good point. So we're down to 2 final decks, and again, it's 2-2, and it's essentially best of 3 conquest. And I have to give the I want to give the opportunity. I want to give the advantage here to Sukipan, since again Trump is left with two decks that weren't his first choices, or at least the Druid wasn't one of his first choices. Whereas Sukipan, he's left with both the decks that were in his initial lineup.
Yep. And I like the Zoo Warlock against both of Trump's matchups that he has left as well. The Zoo Warlock seems like one of the harder ones to win with sometimes in these formats, but both the Hybrid Hunter and Druid are susceptible to it. So
Yeah. Well, actually, the Hybrid Hunter versus Zoo matchup, it's actually 8-1 in favor of Hybrid Hunter.
no way.
Yeah.
The Explosive Trap is so much better than Freezing Trap,
It is, but like you do have cards like Glaive Zuka, which are just amazing in that matchup. And
I
you
guess.
like it's kind of like you're playing mid range, but you have that extra burst, which I feel is really important against even Zoo.
That's really staggering to me. That could be why Suki picked Warrior first, because if he figured, okay, I'm going to lose to Hunter anyways, let's see if I can get the win with Warrior, and then I can make sure my Warlock will match up against Druid. Well, in any case, I find it really interesting that the two decks they have remaining are complete opposites of each other, despite the fact that their lineups were the exact same classes. the It's worked out pretty well, all things considered, that they brought such similar things.
I mean, Sukipan had to qualify through something like 8 or 9 rounds in the open tournament. Then he had to go through the feature tournament. And also Trump, he didn't have to qualify per se, but he had to go through at least like 4 or 5 rounds to reach the finals. So it does seem like this lineup is like one of the best ones you can have in Conquest.
Yep. And we can say that Suki had only that one opportunity where he could have lost and come back through a decider match, but he actually was first place in his group, right? And that means he's won like 15 Conquest series in a row or something at this point to get here, which is an accomplishment in itself, even if you weren't facing some of the best players.
Yeah, both these players are actually undefeated in this tournament so far. Both players advanced first in their group.
Okay, so in this match, probably got a... All right. Okay, that's a good play. Could have hit that with a weapon, but feels kind of bad to hit a 3-attack creature. Sets up the Loot Hoarder to maybe make a trade next turn so he doesn't have to take any damage.
Yeah, what I will say though is that because Trump is running a Hybrid Hunter, slamming the 3/1 Wolf Rider doesn't feel as good, since you really need the card advantage later on. It's not like against Face Hunter where you can just like stall them out a bit and then hope they run out of cards. Generally, the card density from the Hybrid Hunter of Trump will be higher than that of a typical Face Hunter.
So I think this setup for Trump is absolutely beautiful, except that it's going to get Harrisoned. That weapon would get insane damage. He's got 2 sets of traps. So it'd be like a 12 damage Eaglehorn bow that perfectly weaves in hero power. But as soon as it gets Harrisoned, all that's out the window, and there's not really a lot of damage in his hand otherwise.
Yeah, and something else to consider is that generally Harrison is actually not good against Hunter. It's generally too slow. But because of how everything's played out, because Sukipan has kind of stabilized a bit, the Harrison will actually it's not slow enough for it to be bad against what Trump has.
Yeah, well, and especially the 2-trap investment, right? I always like to remember 2 traps makes the weapon double, so you're getting 12 damage for 3 mana, which is pretty ridiculous. It's like less than a fireball and twice the damage.
Playing Face Hunter right now. I like how when you're the Hybrid Hunter, you can kind of switch off between you can more easily switch off between going for face, playing like a Face Hunter style, and going for like board control and more of a mid-range Hunter style.
Oh man, that feels good. That is a nice Harrison. Draw 2 cards, prevent some damage, and he doesn't even know there's another trap in hand.
Yeah.
No health gain yet, though.
You know what is interesting is that yet again, when Trump is facing off against a warrior, he's drawn into pretty much like all the Face Hunter aspects of his deck.
Yep.
No piloted shredders. We know there's 2 pilot shredders. We know there's a Lotheb, a Stranglethorn Tiger, and 2 Highmanes, but just none of those big threats for Trump.
Yeah, Hymen would have been pretty fantastic there. This is rather horrible. I think the warrior will go to 12, but he drops Emperor here, and then as long as he doesn't die on the next turn, it is really scary for Suki having no armor mechanics yet, because he is playing, you know, double armor smith or shield block. There's things in there to gain health, and he's drawn so many cards, but if you know, both armor smiths are the last 2 cards, it's very easy to lose a match like this. He could choose not to Emperor here, and it would be a safer play to kill the Knife Juggler in some way other than attacking with your face.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, there's still kind of a threat. Even though Suki-Pan, he has like such big card advantage, there is kind of a threat here in the sense that you don't have the Armor Smith, and you can only gain 2 armor per turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually kind of like this play better in the end.
Yeah, it's just a safer play. And not only that, but it presents a threat that's almost equally as threatening as the Emperor.
Yeah, it feels like you have to kill, you know, maybe not the Frothing because you're at 30, but the Warsong Commander will mean that playing anything like Unleash the Hounds or just below 3 attack is immediately punished, and he could even play Patron plus Armor Smith on the same turn, which would blow away the game. So if you're not killing the Warsong Commander, you're taking a gamble here. Which is like effectively gaining health for the warrior, whereas the Emperor would not be killed. He would just ignore that, I think, and go for face and say good luck.
Funny thing is that Trump, he has to be really wary of playing any weapons here, since it'll give Suki-Pan even more draws. Although I want to say that the draws probably aren't as important for Suki-Pan now that he has a full hand of cards anyway. Even though that we can see he really wants to eventually draw into that Armor Smith. He's not, Suki-Pan's not even putting that much pressure on Trump at the moment, so it could be quite likely that Trump just draws into threat after threat after threat, or just face damage into lots of face damage into even more face damage, which is exacerbated by the fact that he's probably running double quick shot in his deck.
Yeah, those quick shots look pretty juicy right now if you were to draw into one. All right, goes for the Emperor finally. He's at 11. Kind of at 9 with counting the hero power.
Okay.
So let's see. There's really no way that Trump's going to die anytime soon because there's no charge in hand. So he's picking up around 6 damage here. And I think he needs about 3 more damage, and...
Oh, not Armor Smith yet again. So I think you would have to probably Harrison Jones here. It essentially gives you 2 health.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, Harrison armor and trade seems like the best play. Because otherwise it's a 3 damage top deck for Trump, which is like every increment of damage is a 3 damage top deck, so...
Alright, is this going to be Armor Smith?
No. Wow. Oh, these Armor Smiths. He's way more than halfway through his deck at this point.
Alright, so is there anything... You would need a quick shot into something in order to deal that final point, those final... Oh, kill command. I don't think you use it now.
No, needs
Suki-Pan is not the patron warrior today that is using Lotheb.
Oh my god, still no Armor Smith.
I mean, this is pretty insane. Oh yeah, you can battle. You have to battle rage here.
I would play the Taskmaster.
Yeah, I was even considering just playing Taskmaster.
He was really lucky that was not an Armor Smith. It wasn't, so it's okay. And he could still try to draw some more cards and find the Armor Smith.
I think that was actually a misplay that he
oh yeah,
like overdrew. Like he could have just played the free Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, that was a pretty huge misplay.
And not only that, but he could have potentially went for Acolyte into the Inner Rage to draw even more cards.
Where are these Armor Smiths?
So 2 damage is all he needs. Trump Unleash the Hounds, Quick Shot, another Kill Command, a Wolf Rider, an Arcane Golem. So many outs here. Ooh.
Oh, I won't do it. And there is lethal setup.
Yeah, actually,
So,
any beast would have, any beast besides Jaime would have also done it.
okay,
So,
potentially he's not dead if he kill commands Emperor, right? There's no real way to win at that point, I think, but
okay, you kill Command Emperor, and then, so assuming no armor smiths, no shield blocks are drawn from Suki Pan, he's gonna be at 7. Is there? He needs some quick shot shenanigans.
like the Warsong Commander would have let him win too. His hand is
Yeah.
about as poor as it gets. I think even Suki has a bit of a smile there. He can see that Trump's all in at this point, so Trump needs to have something for 5 damage, which is like pretty unlikely. But okay, he has another chance at an armor smith here.
He has like 3 more draws this turn.
Yeah, surely he can find one.
Yeah. Okay. Um.
Oh wait, is that enough? He has 7 + 4. No, he's 1 off.
Is there a benefit here to using Inner Rage over Whirlwind? I guess you save the Whirlwind for the Armor Smith. Oh, shield block, finally.
Oh my god.
Watch, he's gonna draw Armor Smith right after. Oh
It
no,
goes with
charge.
charge. And
And
that is lethal. Yeah, he
yeah,
needs the
that's it.
animation time, but okay, he's just gonna armor. He had to play patrons out there. Oh, that would have been heartbreaking if Suki lost that after drawing so far through his deck. That was like both armor smiths and shield block were in bottom 10.
Yeah,
That
to be
was
fair though,
crazy.
Trump, that turn that he drew the Mad Scientist, it felt like he had around 15 draws, or around
Yeah.
like half his deck that could have been lethal, like both Animal Companions, Wolf Riders, Arcane Golems, Quick Shot, Kill Command. I could go on here. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it would be any other beast too. So if he has like Haunted Creepers, but
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
Hunter Creepers as well. Actually, you know what's interesting? I don't believe we've seen Hunter Creepers in Trump's deck.
Yeah, I think he's not actually playing them, which is pretty unusual because it's like one of the super standard creatures, especially with Knife Juggler and Beast Synergy.
Yeah. Instead, he looks to be he has like pretty much all the mid-range creatures, including a Stranglethorn Tiger and also double Glaive Zuka.
Well, Suki is now on match point, and this is for 1,500 extra dollars off of the prize they've already earned at this point. So it's a pretty big win, and of course Suki will get all the bragging rights of having taken down Trump in the finals, which would be really awesome for him.
I think Trump's hand is amazing though. Like the Glaive Zukas, that's what they're in the deck for.
Yeah, yeah, this is a really good early hand.
Oh, okay. So
Punished.
that's at least that like trades off into the Mad Scientist. You do have to go for this though. I mean, as Sukipan, if you've done your research, you know that Trump has double Glaive Zukas.
Yeah. I guess the Glaive Zukas kind of replaced the Haunted Creeper as your early game stabilizer. Alright, definite advantage to Suki here now.
Yeah, it does feel though that the Glaive Zukas are much weaker when you don't combo them with the when you don't have the Haunted Creepers also in the deck.
Yeah, because the Haunted Creepers give you that board presence that's like guaranteed not to be removed, so you get a buff. Could have also played Knife Juggler Flame Imp there. I like this better.
Okay, never mind. Here's the Haunted Creeper #1. Yeah, it's just like we've seen like half of Trump's deck, then the other half, and now we're seeing the third half of his deck.
Trump's deck just has 50 cards and he draws them on command.
I mean, I have seen this before. I think I've seen like players, pro players even, they make decks that they have like a challenge. It's kind of like the challengey stone type of thing where they make decks of only one-ofs, and generally Hunter is seen as the best deck in that format since there's so many good Hunter cards. I bet you could even name 30 good Hunter cards that are instead standard competitive play.
Yeah, there are a lot of good Hunter cards. Also, your hero power being so consistent would help out a lot in that format. Well, getting that one face damage started. Seems like a really good hand from Suki with the Defender of Argus. Gang Boss challenges everything on the board. Both creatures have 5 health. I guess the downside to this is if you play Argus, you want to play Flame Imp, but you have no other demons, so you're just playing off curve a little bit here.
Well, that being said, a Void Caller that death rattles into a Flame Imp is certainly not the worst thing in the world.
No.
It's essentially a Pilot Shredder at that point. Although a slightly worse one since you take a minion out of your hand.
This is looking rough. I mean, you can hope for some glory out of your Shredder. Don't know if you trade into the Gang Boss or the Void Caller. If he had a really good Doomguard or Mal'Ganis out of the Void Caller, the game would be over, so it's quite a risk to take. Oh, I mean, it's got to be Lotheb here, right? What else are you going to do? And then you trade. So he knows that if there's a good demon, I guess he's just kind of dead anyways.
Oh.
Well, there's no spells in this hand at least.
Okay, just a Flame Imp. I do think that generally, it definitely favors the Warlock, because the only spells in the Warlock's hand are, or in the Warlock's deck are Implosion and Power Overwhelming.
Yep. And Hunter has a lot.
Yeah, Hunter has like Unleash the Hounds, and if you give your opponent Unleash the Hounds, it's pretty bad.
Even just the fact that the Lore Walker doesn't attack. And he gets the juggle, everything going Suki's way. This might be all but over here. Animal Companion, not the Unleash the Hounds that he probably wanted. And I think that's it, right? Even if he rolls a Misha. The power overwhelming damage.
Yeah. Or even if he rolls a Misha, he gives his opponent an Animal Companion. And then he gives his opponent a chance to either roll Leok or Huffer.
Yeah, and the Warlock's at 29. I mean, it was Suki has played absolutely amazing this entire tournament, and I kind of doubted his Zoo deck when I first saw him playing it at the start of the feature, but it's performed really well, and I mean, it's just been doing a lot better than I thought the Zoo deck was going to treat him.
So is there actually any way, like, he has to roll a Misha here, or he's just dead on board?
Yeah, and the fact that you give your opponent the Animal Companion is suicide. I think even with the Misha, he's still dead. Oh, he could get the Glaive Zuka buff on Lore Walker Cho.
Okay.
No.
Well, at least he's not dead on board completely.
Yeah.
Sukipan does pretty well for himself. He wins this entire featured tournament, and you can see he's pretty happy there.
Yeah.
Taking down even Trump with a score of 4-2. One of the most successful players of the entire year. So definitely congrats to Sukipan, and definitely congrats to Celestial. For his efforts, Sukipan takes home a grand prize of $6,000, which is how many yuan is that?
I don't know. $3,000, right?
Oh, $3,000. Sorry, the entire prize pool is $6,000. So $3,000, it's like 6 yuan or something per. It's a lot of yuan. That's all I want to say. Trump, meanwhile, I think he even takes home a bigger prize, $1,500, a trip to PAX, all expenses paid for, and in addition, more money that you can win at PAX and more Hearthstone World Championship points, which I'm sure that that Trump will appreciate.
Yeah, I think he wants that more than the grand prize too. It would have been nice for Trump to win this series, but I was almost rooting for Suki in this. He's the lesser known player, and the fact that he's giving away his spot anyways, it's like the honorable charity so that he's a victor in very good standing as well with everyone that he's come across in the tournament. So that looks really nice on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Trump would actually pay the $1,500, or the $1,500 extra in order to go to PAX.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's actually it for today. We have Suki Pan winning the feature number 3 tournament. And before we head off, guys, want to tell you guys you can go to geico.onog.gg to support our ONOG Summer Circuit tournament. We definitely support us since like we have the most number of open players coming from to our feature tournaments for any tournament. So we're the most open friendly tournament. You can also go to the website to win an official TSM PC. And to actually join our open tournaments, you can go to liquidhearth.com where you can join 2 open tournaments tomorrow and 2 open tournaments on Wednesday. We've had 16 opens overall, and we're counting down to the very end. PAX is going to be at the end of August, I believe around the 26th to 29th. So you definitely want to check out that tournament as well. I think that's all we have for now. Heartform, do you have any final words?
Well, you guys can follow me on Twitter if you want. I'd love to do Hearthstone content. I will also be streaming later today if you guys want to come and check out my stream. I'm running a really positive atmosphere, so I'm happy to say hello to you there.
Oh, yeah. Again, thanks, Hotform. You definitely want to check out his stream for the educational stream, like the educational comments that you saw today, and also for the pretty amazing patron math that Hotform has done throughout the entire tournament.
Thanks, Monk.
No problem. I'm Monk, and I think that's all we have for today. We'll see you guys at PAX.